thank you for coming. We know it's a special day for Michael because, as Tobias just said, you have your students' final exam day today.
Yeah, I'm a violin professor, amongst other things, at the Barenboim-Said Akademie, and my students, actually, after this talk, I go to listen to the exam.
Yes, fantastic. So thank you for coming, although we know it's a special day. I think the setting with Bell says everything. We mentioned the Academy. Maybe you tell us a little bit about the Academy, because maybe not everybody in the room knows what the work of the Academy is.
Yeah, sure. So the Barenboim-Said Akademie is a music conservatory of higher education that is based on the ideas of the West-Eastern Divan Orchestra. So its students are mainly from the Middle East, from Israel, from Palestine, but also from Syria, from Lebanon, from Egypt, from Iran, from Turkey, from Jordan. I mean, you know, the whole area. And the other specificity is that it has, next to all the music subjects, a humanities component. So they also have philosophy, history, and literature classes. So those are the two things that make it kind of a special.
So that was actually at the core when it was founded more than 20 years ago.
The orchestra, yeah.
The orchestra
was founded in 1999, and the Academy exists since 2015.
2015. And looking at the current events that we've seen, everybody would, of course, expect tension at the Academy. Tell us a little bit what happened in the last months and weeks.
At the Academy?
At your Academy.
Well, I mean...
Or maybe nothing happened, but maybe
nothing
difficult times.
Yeah, difficult times. Of course, it all depends on the perspective that you... Sorry, this thing is... Excuse me, 1 second. There you go. So it all depends on the perspective that you will want to take. Of course, you'll have students dealing with this in a very different way. What I can say is that on the 9th of October, the students asked for an assembly alone, not with me, not with anyone else, just by themselves. And from this point on, they took matters in their own hands, in terms of also how to deal with each other and all these things. Of course, we were there to help just in general in the last few months. We've worked very hard. But they have been very brave. They've been very strong. They've had to deal with so many things. I mean, this is actually true for all of them. Looking at the news today, it's a gruesome vision, and it's until now it's a very difficult moment for them.
And how do you look at the discussion and the discourse that we have here in Germany? Germany, Berlin.
Yeah.
It's a very special location. Everybody knows we have a very special history. I think our country worked on our past for decades. Many institutions tried this. There was a lot of tension on that discourse as well, which really is interesting. And maybe you can describe a little bit what your perspectives.
Yeah, of course. So, I mean, there's two things about that. The first thing is the German history that you are referring to is awful. Yeah. But the people that are not responsible for this are the Palestinians. They have nothing to do with this. So, in a way, why involve the Palestinians into this if Germans have a guilty conscience? I'm a German too. It's not. I'm not counting myself out of this, but there's no reason for the Palestinians to suffer for something that the Germans did 70 or 80 years ago. And that's the first point. The second point is, I mean, from my perspective, I get up every morning. First thing I do, I look at my phone, I look at the news, how many hundreds of Palestinians have been killed today, how many hospitals destroyed, how many children, limbs amputated without anesthetic, how many people are starving. I mean, you name it, it goes on. How little humanitarian aid is let in, how many bombs are flying, how many tanks are rolling. I mean, Israeli bombs. I find it hard to understand how the demand for an immediate ceasefire is not a consensus in the German or in the Western world. It's something I still don't understand.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think there's a lot of support everywhere.
Yeah, no, because I think a lot of people understand this on an individual level, but there's this idea that if I criticize Israel, and I have done on numerous occasions, because frankly, I mean, they're in front of the International Criminal Court accused of genocide. It's not just me, right? If I criticize Israel for some reason, I am doing something wrong. I am being either anti-Semitic, or I'm being unreasonable, or I'm being all these things. That, again, the Palestinians are not responsible for World War II.
Yeah.
And just the fact that in Germany we feel a responsibility for what this country has done, it should really not affect the Palestinians. The Palestinians have been living under a brutal occupation for 56 years, since 75 years since the creation of the State of Israel. Many displaced, dispossessed. I mean, the whole story. I'm not going to start telling you the whole thing, but I mean, this is all of this has nothing to do with what the Germans did in World War II, and they should not have to suffer for it.
No, absolutely. Yes, thank you. Because, looking from outside, when reading the news and also reading the criticism, as you say, that comes from some parts of, let's say, German government, authorities, to citizens of Israel, people, Jews in general, that it seems, and something I also have to say, I don't understand why you should not be allowed to criticize your government, right? This is something. Do you have any idea why that is? I mean, you live here for a long time. Is this something that, are we just not really able to handle this? Are we?
Yes, we're not able to handle this, clearly. There's also another misconception, I think, that is actually something that Israel tries to do all the time, is to present itself as the only representation of Jewishness. This is completely wrong. Of course, there are many other representations of Jewishness, and there are many people who, live outside of Israel, obviously, as Jews, but there's also other representations that are just as valid. And I think it's important, therefore, and it's something that in Germany seems to be very difficult to do, is to really separate the state from this, because I mean, I'm Jewish, right? I don't believe in God or anything like that, but I'm Jewish anyway. It's just how it is. But I don't want anything to do. That's just how it is. But it doesn't mean I want anything. I don't want to be represented by Israel, nor do I feel like I should be represented by Israel. Quite the contrary. So these two things are separate, and only because in Germany we have a fear of saying the things clearly doesn't mean that they're not clear.
No, absolutely. And, coming back to the work at the Academy, looking forward, what future do we see in your project, in this project? Because, of course, it's even more important to continue this work. And music as well is an incredible element of bringing people together as a matter of communication. What is your perspective right now? How do you see the future there?
I mean, I have to say, on the musical end, we've been doing really great work, I hope. For example, yesterday the students played a public concert in our Pierre Boulez Saal, one of the Academy concerts. They played chamber music there, in quite some regularity. Huge success. The hall was quite full. They played a wonderful 1-hour program, presented themselves. Absolutely. I mean, it's absolutely, to my ears, absolutely on the level of the rest of the concert season of the Pierre Boulez. So, I'm very proud of that. Yeah. That the students can present themselves on that really high level. And I think if we just continue to work the way we're working, in the sense of also, the work we do is important, for our what we call our region, for the Middle East, for Palestinians. If we were talking about them, I have a few students, and the Academy has several students from Palestine, that we work very well with, that we work very intensely with, and they make such progress. They have such a talent and such creativity, and we will keep doing that because I think what we do is important.
No, and which is great. Thank you for doing this. I mean, and if you have never been to the Pierre Saal, you should go there. It's an incredible place.
We would be sitting in the midst of the audience.
That's
there, right?
We would totally. Really, maybe we do a TEDx. Maybe we come there. We have to discuss. But coming back to your personal involvement here, do you see any way for us in Germany to be more, let's say, competent and to be more maybe self-confident about taking a position and having a clear perspective on this? Because watching this from outside is very painful also for me to read this, and I have a lot of friends in the arts. And the discussion is it's crazy what's happening there.
Yeah, look, I don't think it's a problem of confidence. I think, if anything, there's a problem of overconfidence. I think something like jumping into support for Israel at the International Court of Justice is a spectacular misjudgment, frankly. Mm-hmm. Things like this make Germany very unpopular in the Arab world. Mm-hmm. And for very good reason. So I don't understand the ways that this goes. I would hope that there will come a moment where the people here and just all of us, we will start to see the things for what they are, and not through this lens of what we might have done 80 years ago. This is not. Guilt is not a good way to do things.
Not a good advisor.
It's no. It's we must see the things for what they are, and then we must act accordingly, I think, and not always see it through our own lens, because this is also I think one of the main mistakes is to constantly look at this through the German lens. The German lens is not relevant for this.
The German perception.
It's important here, right? But as I was saying before, the Palestinians are not responsible for any of this.
Absolutely. Yeah. So thank you for taking the time, although it's such a pressure.
My pleasure.
And I thought we asked Bilal.
Yes.
Because he was at your academy.
Exactly. So he's actually a former student of mine, a wonderful violinist. He's from Syria. He played here in the morning, right?
Yes.
And you were going to say what he's going to play. So sorry.
Yes. So I promised that Bilal will return. So Bilal, where are you? Please go down. So I would not ask about him as a teacher, of course not, but you have a special story, and I think this story is interesting because you're a professor. You were no, you tell the story. Tell me how did you actually start the violin? Because I saw a documentary and it was mind blowing. Please tell the audience, how did you start? Your passion.
I won't be long. Actually, I started the violin. My father gave me a little violin with the buttons, and each button has a song. So I used to just push the buttons to have the songs. And when I grow up, we didn't have really a proper education, because everyone teaches everyone basically who have a little bit more experience. And I'm talking about the Occidental, way of playing, not the Oriental folk music. So I used to have one small DVD by Maxim Vingerov, who was 16 years old, playing Tchaikovsky concerto, and I just had it as a gift. And I just played it for 4 years in a row, and without even having a sound, just imitating. And the other way also, because we have always on Orient, if you've been lucky to visit it before all the catastrophe, you see on the roofs that there's satellites and they are all directed in one way. So to have the Occidental channels, my father used to go on the roof to turn it the opposite way during the night, because otherwise we have reported and we have a fee or go to prison. So during the night I recorded it, everything on a USB key, and my father in the morning before the lights coming up just turned the satellite back again, and I watched all the videos, and one of the artists, multiple of them, but I mean it was Mezzo, the channel, and Michael actually was one of the artists on this channel, and it's just funny how things goes, and a lot of the musicians I used to see, they either came teachers or colleagues or musician friends that I love to play with. So, and this is how I learned the violin.
So you're self-taught, and then actually you started a first academy when you were 12, right? Was it you were?
Yes. So I started to have a proper education in 2000, before the spring, the Arab Spring, how we call it in English. We used to have, it used to exist a foundation called ECUM, Échange Culturel Méditerranéen, so Exchange Culture of Mediterranean, and it used to happen in one of the countries in the Mediterranean. So in 2008 it was in Greece, so I went to Greece to represent Syria with children, with 3 children, and in 2009 Damascus was the capital of the culture. So every country of the Mediterranean came to Syria to play together with the teachers and to give master classes. And then I played for French teachers from the south of France. And when I played for them, the 2 things I knew basically was Paganini Caprice and Mendelssohn Concerto that I learned alone. And then just asked my family to bring me with them. So my mom refused, and then she accepted because it was better for my future. And I left when I was 12. In 2010, and I continued in France. Then the war started, of course. I managed to get my sister and my family out, and then I went to the Paris Conservatoire, and I ended up being a student with Michael in the Barenboim Academy.
And I think you brought one small piece for us with a story, and maybe we can have a look at this. So tell us what this is.
So before I play this music, actually, because it's music, I just want to explain a little bit. You know, since many years now, we only, I mean, the Arab world or the Middle East is focused on wars, and all the ugly and awful things we see, but we forget sometimes that we have a very, very old civilization. And a French archaeologue found a village, I mean a city, a huge city, was under a city, actual city in Syria called Latakia, which is near to the sea. And a farmer who was cultivating his land, the teeth of his track just stopped in the earth, and they just discovered that there's a full city underneath. And this city is called Ugarit. And the French archaeologue called Claude Armand Frédéric Schaeffer found on one of the walls of the city that goes back to 3,400 years ago, found this cuneiform. Cuneiform is the writing with the hammer and nails. So we found a letter, a love letter from a soldier to his wife, which is under the line. With those letters, we have the translation of A, B, C, D. And above, the letters didn't make sense to make a sentence, and they just discovered that this is the way how he wrote music before. So this is a little song, a little also lullaby for his wife before going to the war. And this piece today is known as one of the oldest musical notation in the world, which is one of the most, the oldest civilization in the world, which was in Syria. So I would like to play it for you, just to have an idea about how music was written before. And yeah, I hope you like it.
Bilal. Thank you.